Hey, what's up? It's Mr. Dean, and today I woke up extra early to wash my bed sheets, so I'm feeling really productive or whatever. I don't really know why I brought that up. So today we're going to be talking about Astro Bot. I've been wanting to talk about this game for a hot minute now. I first played it like maybe 6 months ago, enjoyed it quite a bit, played it again about a month ago, and then I think it really fully sunk in now why this game is so beloved by so many people. I don't want to waste any time, let's go ahead and get right into it. Basically, this is based off of the Astro's Playroom tech demo for the PlayStation 5 that Team Asobi originally made to kind of showcase what the PS5 was capable of. People loved the tech demo so much that eventually Sony gave them the green light to just make a fully fledged platforming game that was based around the concepts that we saw in Astro's Playroom. So that brings us today where we have Astro Bot, and many people draw a lot of parallels between this game and a lot of the 3D platformers, specifically the Mario games that Nintendo has given us over on their platformers or on their platforms over the years. Now, is it really just a rip-off Mario game? Let's get into that. So I think to me, the main game that this game really reminded me of was Super Mario Galaxy, primarily of the way you actually go to each level, just because you kind of go into each world, which is a galactic like orbit type of situation. You pick which level you want to go to, and then you're like soaring into it on your DualSense controller in game, which is so meta, by the way. Which, let's go ahead and talk about the DualSense controller since we just brought that up. I've never talked about this thing on the channel, but this really is like a masterpiece of a controller. The only controllers that I think are like tied with it for being my favorite controller at the moment is like the Switch Pro controller, which I probably would lean towards the DualSense just because I really don't like the D-pad on the Switch Pro controller, but everything else is amazing. And then you got like the Xbox 360 and then the Super Nintendo and the GameCube, but like, I don't know, the DualSense is really good, and this game is a great showcase for why. For instance, aside from the fact that soaring into the levels on your controller in game is hilarious, the way that you rescue bots and then they enter the controller and then you like feel them vibrating inside is just so hilarious. Like half the time you'll literally hear the characters talking from the controller, not even just from the game itself. Or it could be something like whenever you push down on the triggers and there's like this haptic feedback type of thing that is in other PlayStation 5 games as well. I remember first noticing it in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, but in this game it is once again just so like enthralling to just experience while casually playing the game. And I mean, I guess that's one thing I would just bring up in general is how fun this game is to control. And I think a lot of the reason why that's the case is how compact and just straight to the point so many of the levels in the game are. That's not every level, there are definitely some more like open sandboxy designs, but just the way that so many of them feel so just like natural and dynamic to run across makes the overall experience so much more fun to control. And the main thing that keeps this game so engaging and fun is the way each level has its own ability that directly ties into the platforming. For example, look no further than Downsize Surprise, which kind of incorporates the ability of being able to shrink super tiny and go back to normal size whenever you want, essentially turning you into Ant-Man in this game. This turns the level on its head with the way both the collectibles are found and just with the way you go from point A to point B. Or we have the level Trunk of Funk, which allows you to spawn platforms in midair and jump off of them in order to navigate the level at your own pace and find other collectibles that are only accessible via this, well, item. And this is very similar to the Cloud power-up that we saw in Super Mario Galaxy 2, which of course, that is like one of the best power-ups in that respective franchise, so that is definitely not a bad thing. And then we have the level Slow-Mo Casino, which gives you the ability to slow down time and turn a lot of things that otherwise would not be platforms into platforming tools. For example, it may be poker chips soaring through the air. You turn on the power up and you're able to go from point A to point B where you otherwise were not able to do so. Those are just a few examples of the way the abilities in this game really go out of their way to make the overall experience so much more memorable than it otherwise would be. And then that directly brings me into the other reason this game is so engaging, which is the collectibles. Each level really has two main types of collectibles for you to collect. One of them is the bots, which are just so adorable. Essentially, there's normally about like 6 to 8 different bots in the levels. And then whenever you swing and do like the swing motion on a bot, you rescue them, they get stored into your DualSense controller, and then later on in the hub area, they kind of populate the overall like zone in order to really bring it to life. And then the other type of collectible that we're able to get is the puzzle pieces, each level having 3 of them. Whenever you go back to the hub area, you are able to fill out these little like puzzle things, and then whenever you fully complete each one, it gives you a different room for you to, you know, really act on the different accessories that are in this game. One of the rooms, for example, is a whole showcase of all the different skins that you are able to equip. Another one could be all the different skins for the DualSense controller while you're soaring through the air. Another one may be a gacha room where you're able to spend the coins in-game on all these different accessories that I just talked about. So the collectibles I think are really great for multiple reasons. One, because these accessories are genuinely very adorable, but more importantly, it makes the levels much more nuanced than they otherwise would be. It isn't simply just going from point A to point B and just like completing the mission, but there are so many things for you to look for and find different like secrets and Easter eggs in the levels that otherwise you probably would not have found. And also, so many of the bots that are collectibles in this game are direct callbacks to other Sony PlayStation IPs. Give it maybe Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn or Kratos from God of War. And then the next thing about this game, which I know this is a super shallow thing to bring up, but the game looks incredible. I do think it's fair to fully expect that a PlayStation 5 game would look incredible, but I think out of the ones I've played, this is easily one of the most like joyous ones for me to look at. It's both with the art design and also just the animations that so many of the characters have. Like every single time I rescued a bot in this game, they did this cute little like celebration, and it like filled me with serotonin every single time. But above all else, the main reason this game is so important is the role it plays within the overall PlayStation like zeitgeist of IPs that we have going on. Because at the end of the day, Sony was kind of missing a true like mascot that could appeal to a wide range of people, like say Nintendo's Mario or Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog, or even like Microsoft's like Master Chief, if you want to consider him a mascot for the company. But at least from the games I've played, a lot of these PlayStation characters and games in general are a little bit more like restrictive in who they specifically are marketed towards. For example, you're not just going to hand The Last of Us to a random person who isn't into that specific like style of game and expect them to fall in love with it, compared to something like a lot of the Nintendo games that are just so much more accessible to so many people. That's not a knock on The Last of Us, by the way, it's just kind of the way it naturally is. However, here we have Astro Bot, which is a game I genuinely think anybody can enjoy. It doesn't matter how many video games you've played, how good at video games you are, or like what your preferred genre is, even if it isn't platformers. This is just a game that I feel like anyone can really get behind in the best way possible. It is just a grounded, wholesome, whimsical platforming game that feels in the best way possible, because I really don't mean this as a diss, like a Nintendo game. So I guess there is a little bit of truth to the whole argument that this game is a Mario ripoff. I think ripoff is very like hyperbole in this case. Because I don't think that they were just trying to blatantly rip off Mario. I think that they certainly had a lot of influence from the Mario games, but they really did do a good job at making it their own. It still feels like its own game. The whole time I was playing it, I was not thinking like, wow, I'm just playing a reskinned Mario game right now. I was able to definitely see why it's similar, but I definitely felt like I was getting my money's worth out of playing Astro Bot. So anyway, if you have not played Astro Bot and you already own a PlayStation 5, I would totally recommend playing it. It is so much fun, and just kind of like overall, like I said before with this specific word, it's just wholesome. It's just a wholesome, fun platforming game. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy, definitely feel free to subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of Nintendo stuff, but I'm very open-minded to talk about more games if that is something that you would be interested in. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, peace out.